This morning, with no sign of movement to end the debt ceiling standoff, there's growing concern that the nation could default on its debt by the end of the month if Congress doesn't act.
Well, yesterday, President Biden took his message directly to the voters. He spoke at a college in upstate New York where he laid the blame squarely on Republicans who he claims refused to negotiate. Take a listen.
They're literally, not figuratively, holding the economy hostage.
I made it clear, America is not a deadbeat nation. We pay our bills.
NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli joins us now on set with more. Mike, good morning. So those were some tough words from the president there. What were some of the other takeaways from that speech?
Well, there are a couple things that are really frustrating the president about this whole debt ceiling debate. The first has to do with the specifics of what we're even talking about, federal spending. The president pointed out that he's put forward a very detailed budget that would cut $3 trillion in federal spending over the next 10 years, what money he would raise more in terms of taxes, what he would cut in terms of federal programs. And then he said Republicans have put up a big number, $4.5 trillion, that they want to cut federal spending over the next 10 years, but they haven't specified the details. So one of the things the president did yesterday was try to fill in the blanks for them. Take a listen.
According to estimates, the Republican bill would put 21 million people at risk of losing Medicaid. The Republican plan would cut federal law enforcement officers, 30,000, including 11,000 FBI agents, 2,000 border agents, DEA agents, and so on.
The other frustration the president has here is, as he pointed out, Republicans passed debt ceiling increases 3 times during the Trump administration. In fact, the last time the deal that led to the debt ceiling being raised increased spending overall. And so he reminded us of what's at stake. He said Republicans' plan here is extreme and doesn't make much sense, and talks about the potential for, what, 8 million job losses, a 45% cut in the stock market if we were to default. Even getting a deal at the last minute, a reminder, would cost 200,000 jobs to the economy. So high stakes that the president really tried to bring to the voters directly yesterday.
Definitely, and kind of more drama than we've seen in one of these standoffs in a long time. So with this backdrop that you mentioned about this deadlock between the president and Republicans, it's notable where he was, a district represented by a Republican, Congressman Mike Lawler. Walk us through what that messaging was there.
Yeah, there are 18 of these districts across the country that sent a Republican to Congress last November, but in 2020 supported President Biden. So these are the definition of swing seats. And so the White House had been telegraphing that the president really wanted to come to put pressure on those vulnerable Republicans to maybe relent here, put pressure on Speaker McCarthy to show more willingness to compromise. But there was a very interesting dynamic yesterday. The Republican congressman was in the audience. And in fact, President Biden met with him earlier before he took the stage. He said nice things about him on stage. He said, this is not one of those MAGA Republicans. He's the kind of Republican I used to work with when I was in Congress. So I talked to Congressman Lawler. He talked to reporters after. And he said, well, the president's words speak for themselves. And he put the pressure back on the president, said he's the one who needs to show a willingness to compromise. So the politics here continue to be fascinating.
Looking forward, we know the president is scheduled to meet with congressional leaders again tomorrow. Not a lot came out of the last meeting. What is the White House hoping for here?
Well, what we've heard, and the president said this yesterday as well, is that the staffs, especially the staff for Speaker McCarthy and for the president, have been meeting, will meet again today, are having some good discussions, maybe working slowly towards a deal. But we're also going to continue to see the president trying to put the pressure on today, not in New York, but in the Rose Garden. He's going to be talking about some of the environmental policies he's pursued in office. And then he would fill in more of those blanks, talk about sort of the Environmental Protection Agency, the number of staff, what it would mean for our environment if the Republican vision goes through. So you're continuing to see a little bit of carrot and a little bit of stick. Now about 3 weeks to go to that deadline, though. So we got to get some movement here quick.
All right. Mike Memoli, thank you so much.
All right, come see us again soon. It's fun when you're
Feels
here
like
on
home.
set. I know.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.